soft as a flower. I know the hour. I am the times. It's the strength for me. It's the strength. It's the legacy. It's the faith. It's the history. Unerased of a sisterhood of a race. It's the strength for me. It's the strength. It's the legacy. It's the faith. It's the history. Unerased of a sisterhood of a race.
Hi, I'm Gwen McKinney, creator and campaign director of Unerased Black Women Speak. We're thrilled to welcome you to our very first edition of Unerased Recorded Live. Our new format, while pre-recorded, comes to you with the hopes of inspiring in the moment thoughts, imagination, and action that you can hold and share. We're especially excited that the launch of our new format coincides with an exciting initiative supported by Unerased Black Women Speak and some 100 Black women sponsoring groups across the country. We'll be hosting a premiere screening of the new Disney film, The Little Mermaid, the blockbuster opening weekend, May 25th through 28th. The film celebrates the magical dimensions of a world where the dreams of Black girls really do come true. More than Black girl magic, we're spotlighting Black girl possibilities on the movie screen and in life. And speaking of movies, later on the show, we'll have a conversation with award-winning filmmaker Yoruba Richen, who will explore the images of Black women in entertainment and in film in the 20th and the 21st century. Back to our premiere opening. Complete with red carpet and popcorn, it marks the third anniversary of Unerased Black Women Speak and our first ever event. We launched in the height of the pandemic as a digital content provider. So it's super exciting to say, see you at the movies, live and in the flesh. In cooperation with our local sponsors, the Philadelphia Commission for Women and Philly Now, the National Organization for Women Local Chapter, we invite mamas and daughters, grandmoms and godmoms, big sis and little sis, aunties, mentors, schoolmates, and friends to be our guests in a theater buyout. For more information on the screening, check us out on unereasedbws.com. In a moment, you'll hear from our Philly partners and other local premier sponsors from across the country. But first, here's a little conversation with my friend and colleague, Holly Holiday of Win with Black Women, the national network that has kicked off this premiere. So, welcome, Holly.
Thank you.
Holly is, we claim her at Unerased Black Women Speak. She is our constituency engagement chief. And we also claim her at Win with Black Women, a national network of some 4,000 Black women across the country who bring together a full panoply of advocacy, activism, academics, arts, entertainment, tech. We are as diverse as the interests of our community.
Yeah.
So I'm proud to be part of that alliance. And thank you, Holly, for, helping to keep Women with Black Women going.
Oh, it is really my honor and privilege to be a part of the amazing experiences that we have together.
So I'm gonna cut right to the chase and turn the podium or the microphone over to you because we've got an exciting blockbuster Memorial Day weekend coming up. Yes, tell us a little bit about what we're doing across the country.
Right. So, Win with Black Women has partnered with Black women such as yourself and Unerased Black Women Speak to do theater buyouts, not just single seats, not just a lot of seats, whole theaters. And we did that purposely because we wanted to show that Black women not only can lead on the screen, but that we are all connected. And that when we're leading in positive ways on the screen, we also can lead in positive ways off the screen. We see this as an opportunity to say to the marketplace that we support positive imagery of Black women, that we are willing to utilize our resources and our influence to say not just to our own community, but to all communities that this imagery is important. And none of it could happen if it wasn't actually true. If there weren't women like you and so many others across this country who are standing up and saying, I'm going to use my personal resources. This wasn't something where we had a grant and somebody gave us a lot of money to do it. This is Black women using their resources, leveraging their connections, working with their allies in order to bring these experiences to people across this country.
Yes, and it's a wonderful thing for Unerased. Our theater event will be a Saturday matinee. We're very girl centric, and it's in Philadelphia, my hometown, and a
Yeah.
great town for this kind of event.
Hmm.
And we're doing it in collaboration with the Philadelphia Commission for Women and Philly Now, which is the local chapter of the National Organization for Women. So tell us a little bit because we've got in this episode of Recorded Live, we've got several of the local sponsors who are going to tell us a little bit about what they're doing. Give us a kind of big picture on what's happening across the country.
Let me tell you, in some ways, and I have to thank you, Gwen, for really amplifying this part of this work. The stories of the women who are purchasing the theaters are as diverse, as interesting, as entertaining as the film itself. Really, one of the things that was my personal mission when I was invited to be a part of developing this partnership was to make sure that Black women's experiences and being able to be a part of bringing this film to the public and promoting it didn't just happen in places where people assume Black women live. So yes, we have a theater buyout in LA, and yes, we have one in Chicago, and thanks to you in Philadelphia and New York. But we also have one in Little Rock, and we have one in Kansas City, and we're working on one in Chicago, and there's one in Hawaii that we're developing, and Washington State, and all of these places where people don't necessarily always see Black women, not only on the screen, but in their community doing the work. So the connection of positive images on screens connected to Black women doing positive things in the communities in which they live and work, magic. And so I'm totally in my happy place.
Well, and thank you for that happy place because I think next up we will hear one, two, three. We'll hear from sponsoring premier host in Philly and Jackson, Mississippi, and Little Rock. So thank you, Holly, for all your work in bringing this together.
Awesome.
I am Javita Hill. I'm the executive director of the Philadelphia Commission for Women, and I'm here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
My name is Holly Weeks. I am the founder of Digital Weeks LLC, and that is based in the Jackson, Mississippi area.
My name is Whitney Owens, and I am the owner of Whitney Owens State Farm, and I'm based out of Little Rock, Arkansas.
Hi, my name is Tiffany OQuinn. I am managing partner for a law firm here in downtown Little Rock, Mays, Bird, and OQuinn, PLLC, and I am also located in Little Rock, Arkansas.
I first heard about the premiere screening of The Little Mermaid on the Women Black Women call, and they were asking Black women to rally together to really stand behind this film because of the Mermaid Ariel. And I knew that giving back to Mississippi, especially my hometown of Columbus, Mississippi, where my family has been there for generations, and then also the capital of Jackson, Mississippi, was a very key thing.
When I saw the very first trailer, I immediately called Tiffany, and I had this idea that we should buy out a theater and, target young girls in our area. And so it just so happened that, the stars aligned and other organizations also wanted to do this. And so it's just been perfect. And I'm so excited that now it's like a nationwide initiative and that it's going to have so much more reach. And so I was just inspired because I want young girls of color to know that they can be and do anything.
For the Philadelphia Commission for Women and the Philadelphia chapter of the National Organization for Women, we saw this as an amazing opportunity to elevate images of Black girls and women on the big screen.
We targeted a couple of organizations that are actually dedicated to the arts. The Timmons Arts Foundation, there is the Tendaji Project here, and then also Next Generation, which is a group of girls of color from preparatory, from K through 8th grade. In addition, we are going to offer some off to the public as well, and then some of our close family and friends. So we have a host and a variety of people that we are trying to bring out to help support this wonderful initiative.
The Jackson, Mississippi location, people that I've really tried to invite, I'm trying to make sure that they do come out, is the youth of the Jackson Public Schools areas. So mainly the middle school and high schoolers, especially like those that I know they need that positive representation, those that would be like, oh, look, I got to see someone that looked like me.
We also see this as an opportunity to expand on the outreach activities that are happening in our community with programs like Black Girls Love Math, Young Scholars Program, and the Philadelphia Youth Commission. And on a personal note, I'm looking forward to a girls' afternoon with my granddaughter, her mother, and her 2 grandmoms as we all celebrate Black girl power.
I hope that the guests will take away, number one, a sense of pride, because it is a very big thing to have a Disney princess be a Black woman. I hope that they take away with them a sense of community, that anybody can make a community difference, no matter how small, how big. And I also hope that they take away with them the fact that we are all one family.
I hope the guests walk away feeling seen, feeling like they saw someone that looked like them on the screen. I know my daughter and Tiffany's daughters are so excited. Everywhere my daughter goes, she's like, "Are you coming to see the Brown Little Mermaid with us?" So I hope that the representation that they see on the screen lets them know that they can be anything.
We're looking forward to celebrating the fantastic idea that Black girls can be the heroes of their own stories, and that they are empowered to be the heroes of their own lives. Now, how good is that for a Saturday afternoon?
Very honored to welcome Yoruba Richen, who is a filmmaker extraordinaire and who brings so much understanding, passion, and talent to storytelling on screen. So I want to thank you so much for giving of your time, not just with us, but your time and talent in film. Hi.
Hi there. Great to be here.
Yes, I want to start our conversation, Yoruba, in the 20th century. And by exploring your remarkable storytelling of 6 Black women icons in film and entertainment: Lena Horne, Cecily Tyson, Diane Carroll, Abby Lincoln, Nina Simone, and Pam Grier. What a lineup. What a lineup. So, first, we're going to just show this little clip because I think it sets things up, and then we'll come back.
Meet 6 extraordinary women who forged their own answers to a profound question.
As a Black woman, how does it feel to be free?
Lena Horne, Abby Lincoln,
They blaze such a trail.
Nina Simone,
voice of the civil rights movement.
Cicely Tyson,
Accepted for her talent alone.
Diane Carroll,
We're at a new crossroad.
Pam Grier.
First female action hero in American film.
Look for How It Feels to Be Free
We'll see what happens here.
on American Masters.
Except for 74-year-old Pam Grier, they all have joined the ancestors. Each one of these phenomenal pioneers, there could be their own documentaries, Yoruba.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I was lucky enough to interview Diane Carroll before she passed. And Cecily Tyson, who I wasn't able to interview, she passed about a week after the film premiered on American Masters. So, yeah, I mean, they've all gone to the ancestors except Pam Grier, but their stories are so remarkable. And the film is based on a book called, inspired by a book called How It Feels to Be Free, Black Women Entertainers in the Civil Rights Movement. And what when I read about the book and then read the book, what it did is it took those women, minus Pam Grier, actually, I included Pam Grier in the film, but it took those women and put them in the context of how African American women entertainers built on each other's legacy of representation and political activism, and sometimes their representation on, or often their representation on film was political. And I thought it was such an interesting way to really understand how Black women made the strides that they did, in an industry that was literally built brick by brick on racism and sexism, and how that led us to where we are today, in seeing, the amazing Black women creators who are behind the camera, who are, in front of the camera as well. So that's what inspired me to take on this project, to take on this film.
And you know that Alicia Keys executive produced this film. It speaks volumes to its weight and its worth, its substance. What made you sign on?
Well, I brought it to Alicia Keys folks, and she signed on, which we're so grateful that that she did. We connected to her producer at the time, who through a organization that supported my work, Chicken and Egg, which supports women and non-binary filmmakers. And we connected to Alicia's producer through that contact, and her producer had also read the book, and was very excited and looking, to do something with it as well. So when I talked to her about my idea, she was really excited and knew that this was something that Alicia Keys would be interested in, and so brought it to her, and she signed on. So that's how that connection happened.
And that's just a wonderful connection. The fact that you inspired it, of course, there has to be a spark somewhere. Often popular culture really does mirror the times. I want to talk about if there's a through line between the 20th and 21st century. Where also is there a line of demarcation? Where have things pretty much been consistent and the same, and where have they changed? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, in terms of through lines, one thing I discovered in making the film is that Black women have been a presence on screen from very early in Hollywood. And their names are often lost. Women like Madame Soltiwan, who was one of the first actresses to be signed with a film contract and appear on screen in the early 1900s. Women such as Nina McKinney and Freddie Washington, who were stars in the 1920s and 30s. And of course, women like Josephine Baker, and a little later on, Dorothy Dandridge, Ethel Waters. Those aren't women that I featured in the film, but we have been a presence, from very early times in Hollywood. And then, of course, I start with Lena Horne, who was really the breakthrough actress, even though she had such frustration with the Hollywood system because she was not able to get roles because of racism and sexism, even though she signed this groundbreaking contract that where she wouldn't play these offensive, demeaning roles of, as she said, people in the jungle and mammies. But even as she signed this groundbreaking role, she wasn't able to get the work, and she wasn't able to really be a full-fledged actress. And she actually went back to singing and her nightclub career. And then you find with as we move on, folks like Diane Carroll, who I feature in the film, who also had a groundbreaking television show, and that was very successful. But after that, and some of her, amazing films in the 50s and early 60s, she wasn't able to get to move further than that, and also fell back on singing. And then when we get to someone like Pam Grier in the Blaxploitation era, which was really an era where Black themed films kind of saved a Hollywood that was financially struggling, and she became a huge star. She wanted to break out of that mode and was not able to do that because of the continued racism and sexism of the industry that wanted to keep her in that role. So all that to say is, and Cicely Tyson as well, who became a star in the 70s, that these women make these breakthroughs and change the industry and change representation, and then there's only so far that they can go. There's limits to what they can do because of the opportunity. And we even see that, as we go into the 90s, which was another little heyday of Black indie filmmaking. And then, a kind of retreat, and we don't see that kind of blossoming of Black films until really just recently. So, in summary, we make these strides, we make these breakthroughs, and then there's a kind of backlash or a retrenchment in our opportunities. Now, what's different about today, of course, is that we have more of us behind the camera, and that's the only way that things are going to change. And it's the only reason why, we've had any changes that we have had, is because we are able to, as producers and directors and creators. I interview Lena Waithe in the film, Halle Bailey, who's now directing, Alicia Keys, who's a producer, because we now have the ability to say yes. People like Ava DuVernay, of course, who have opened up such avenues for Black women to be creators and writers and producers and directors. And that's really the difference between today and, say, Lena Horne or Diane Carroll's time.
Because they weren't there then. They weren't
there, or they tried to be there, and again, they were shut out. Zora Neale Hurston wanted to write in Hollywood, James Baldwin wanted to write in Hollywood, and there were no opportunities for them.
Yeah.
I mean, Hollywood is again, I emphasize Hollywood was an industry that was built literally brick by brick on racist stereotypes and racism. We talk about Birth of a Nation, one of the biggest films of Hollywood, that biggest films in Hollywood at the time, that glorified the KKK and was, steeped in violent racist stereotypes, and it was a huge hit in 1950. So that's the reality of the wall that Black filmmakers, Black women filmmakers, Black actresses and actors have pushed against from the beginning.
And the one thing about How It Feels to Be Free that I loved, that you had Nina Simone and Abby Lincoln, two just really phenomenal, radical women who were going to write their own ticket no matter what.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so what made you bring them into that storytelling? Because the others were like kind of in film and movie.
Yep.
They're all artists, but
Yep.
their voices and their music was what lifted them up to the world. What made you bring them in?
Yeah. So Abby Lincoln and Nina Simone were in the original book by Ruth Feldstein, which it was inspired by to make the film. And I thought it was so important that they were part of looking at, the entertainment industry. The way that they were political in their time, in their music, in their lyrics, and in their representation was so groundbreaking. We're still understanding the legacy of Nina Simone today,
Yeah, and both of them were expats too.
And both, yes, definitely Nina for a time. Lived the rest of her life outside of the country. Yeah, for sure.
And I think Abby for a short period, because
maybe for a short period. I'm not
she
exactly
was
sure.
very disenchanted with things.
Well, yeah, there was frustration. All of the women had frustration because of the limitations that were put on them.
Okay, so last year you produced another phenomenal film, again busting stereotypes, for Peacock, the documentary on the rebellious life of Mrs. Rosa Parks. And I am familiar with the book by Jean Theo Harris. I enjoyed the film so much. Tell us a little bit about that project and how you were inspired and what moved you on that.
Absolutely. I'm actually here at UC Santa Barbara for a screening this evening for the film. So that film, I became involved as a co-director in that film because of my co-director Joanne Hamilton, who had connected with Jean Theo Harris, the author of the book, and basically found out that there had not been a feature documentary about Rosa Parks, which is pretty like crazy if you think about it, and shocking. And she read the book, and the book reveals so much about Mrs. Parks and her work and lifetime of activism, both before and after the bus boycott. And she, reached out to me and told me that there hadn't been a feature doc, which I found, shocking as well. And I read the book and I was amazed at all of the richness of activism, and not only just activism, but radical activism, which she believed, from, which she engaged in from a very early time to the end of her life. So I thought it was high time. We thought it was high time to tell Rosa Parks' story. And so Jean and Joanna and I joined forces, and we went to Soledad O'Brien Productions, and they, enthusiastically took up the cause of making the film, and we were able to bring it to Peacock, and it came out last year.
Absolutely wonderful. as I said, taking what a far departure from the quiet little seamstress who was too tired to get up for white men to give her seat up. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I really, really love that. So what are you working on now? You're constantly busy, and you are one of our sheroes, and at some point we need to do a screening or something for and with you. I'm saying it on the record.
That's right. I would love that.
Would love to do it. So what are
Yeah.
you working on now?
So I have two projects that I'm working on now. I am working on a film about reparations, and looking at stories of descendants of enslavers who are working with descendants of the enslaved on reparation efforts and projects. It's super interesting because it's actually happening in a lot of different spaces. And I am also making a film, co-directing a film about the Wilmington insurrection of 1898, which was the biggest political insurrection or most successful political insurrection and subsequent massacre of Black people in Wilmington, North Carolina, at the end of Reconstruction.
Wow. So we must stay tuned. Unerased
Absolutely.
Black Women Speak. What we are in the advocacy and narrative development space, you are in the film, documentary film space. So we need to partner up here.
For sure.
It's just been a special joy to have this conversation with you. And for our audience, you can check out Yoruba on a podcast we did talking about the art of beauty. She joined author Alicia Bundles, for a conversation, which you can visit on Apple, Spotify, or you can actually go to our website, unereasedbws.com, to check it out. Yoruba, where can our audience find more work from and about you?
Absolutely. The Rosa Parks film is on Peacock, as is another film that I did about the late, great Harry Belafonte called The Sit-In. Harry Belafonte hosts The Tonight Show. So those are both on Peacock. And How It Feels to Be Free is on Amazon Prime. Or if you have a PBS app, American Masters.
Yes.
And you can follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, RedRubes14. And my Facebook, you can follow my Facebook. It's just my name.
Well, great. And again, thank you. And we're going to reconnect with you. The idea of a screening or an event, whether it's live or virtual, I would just be honored to team with you on that. So thanks a lot.
Awesome. Yes, of course. Thank you.
Dear Unerased audience, this is where I sign off. I invite you to like us, share us, and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and visit us on uneраsedbws.com. We close out this inaugural edition of Unereased Recorded Live with a brief but joyous video celebrating our smiles. To everyone watching, be safe and stay curious.
Our smiles, magical, whimsical, infectious. Our smiles, sunshine from our hearts to our lips. Our smiles, a non-verbal shout-out of love, of light, of levity. Our smiles defy words and deliver the essence of joy. Our smiles, warming like a kiss, embracing like a hug, melodic like a song, are smiles, a flash of buoyancy, a spirit of hope. Our smiles, expression of grace, gift of generosity, assurance,